It is Wednesday, but Friday, Senator Sanders will not be available to be on our show, and so he has graciously offered to come on today, right now. So we're going to do our Brunch with Bernie Hour, our national town hall meeting, where you can call in and ask a question of Senator Sanders, 866-987-THOM, our telephone number. You can call in and ask a question of Senator Sanders live and on the air. Senator Sanders, welcome.
Great to be with you, Tom.
Thank you for joining us and not missing a week. I really appreciate that. What's at the top of your mind right now?
There are a lot of things going on in D.C. Next week, I believe that I will have on the floor as chairman of the Veterans Committee the most comprehensive veterans legislation that we have seen in many decades. Among many other things, this will make it easier for vets to get into the VA healthcare system for the first time. We will begin providing dental care to a large number of veterans. I happen to believe that dental care is health care. VA currently does not do that unless it's service-connected, so we want to expand that. We're going to be dealing with the very serious problem of sexual assault. We'll be putting a greater emphasis on complementary and alternative medicine. A problem within the VA and outside of the VA is over-medication. And to the degree that concepts like acupuncture, meditation, yoga, nutrition can wean people away from too much medication, I think that's a good thing, and the VA is already doing a pretty good job in that. We want to expand that. So there are a lot of issues out there, and we're very proud that we have the support of the American Legion, the Disabled American Veterans, the Veterans of Foreign Wars, the Vietnam vets, the Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America, and virtually every veterans organization. So for those of us who understand that war plays it brings about a very heavy toll on people's life, I think this legislation is a major step forward, and we hope we can get it done.
Yeah, that's great.
So that's one issue that we're working on. The other issue is, I think, as people may have noticed, is the deficit is in fact going down. When Bush left office, the deficit was about $1.4 trillion. In 2013, it was $680 billion. In projection is that this year it'll be about $514 billion. So we've cut the deficit by more than half, which is not insignificant. It seems to me now that our focus has got to be on the economy and on creating jobs, because while the deficit has gone down, there is still no question that unemployment in this country is much, much too high. Real unemployment remains about 13%, youth unemployment about 20%, African-American youth unemployment 40%. So we have got to create millions of jobs, and God only knows there is enough work out there to do. I happen to believe very strongly that we should be investing in rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure, roads, our bridges, wastewater plants, water systems, improving our rail system, improving our airports. And when you do that, you create jobs at all levels, from architects and PhD types to blue-collar construction workers. So there's a lot of work that we can create doing that. Furthermore, if we're serious about tackling and reversing climate change, there is a huge opportunity out there in terms of energy efficiency and weatherization and making our buildings far more energy efficient. I know that in Vermont, people who have their homes weatherized, and we're obviously a cold weather state, they sometimes can save 50% in their fuel bills, so we're saving consumers money. We are cutting greenhouse gas emissions, and we're creating local jobs. So investing in energy efficiency and the weatherization is something terribly important, and we can create jobs doing that. So I want to work on that issue. The other issue that is very much on my mind, and I think it's getting more and more attention, there was a good piece in the Washington Post today, is when we look at campaign finance and who's funding elections, it seems to me now we're looking at three major political institutions. You're looking at the Republican Party, you're looking at the Democratic Party, and now what you're looking at is, in a sense, the Koch brothers party. The Koch brothers, as I hope most people know, are one of the wealthiest families in America. They're worth somewhere around $77 billion, and they have pledged to contribute a very significant amount of money, and we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions, into the political process. And this disastrous Supreme Court decision, Citizens United, enables them to do that. So a very difficult question is, how do we deal with that? They are now flooding the airwaves in North Carolina and in other states, and they are prepared to spend unbelievable sums of money. And from their point of view, if you spend a few $100 million or you spend $1 billion, that is a good investment if you can end up owning the United States government or state legislatures. So, it is a good investment. The return on that investment will be very, very good. So how we deal with that, how we rally the American people to take on the Koch brothers and to take on this disastrous Citizens United decision, which is, in my view, undermining the very foundations of American democracy. In Vermont, in March, we have town meetings where people decide on the school budget and how much they're going to spend on school plows and salaries for local officials and so forth. One person, one vote. That is, what American democracy is supposed to be about. And now what you have is one family spending hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, and others also spending a huge sum of money. This is not what American democracy is supposed to be about. So I think we've got to work hard on rallying the American people. Not a lot of people are familiar with the issue. We have got to overturn Citizens United. I believe very strongly we've got to move to campaign public funding of elections. And the point here is, if you are concerned about health care, concerned about the economy, concerned about women's rights, you're concerned about climate change, you're concerned about education, no matter the issue that you are concerned about, how campaigns are funded and whether billionaire right-wing extremists can control the political process will impact every single issue out there. So we need to do a lot of work on this issue, or else you're going to see literally one family having more political impact in this country than either the Democratic or the Republican parties, and that is just unbelievable. So that's an issue we have to pay, I think, a great deal of attention to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, also coming before Congress, we're still working on some very important issues. I want to see an extension of long-term unemployment. Our Republican colleagues keep resisting. They keep telling us that they are sympathetic, but they want to make some devastating cuts to pay for it. That's wrong. We want to raise the minimum wage, and that bill should be on the floor within a few weeks. I know that $10.10 is, not a particularly good wage, but it's an improvement over $7.25, which is what the national minimum wage is right now. So I want to raise that minimum wage and see about 30 million Americans get an increase in their wages. When we talk about the economy, we should never forget that one of the great problems we face is not just high unemployment, but that many of the new jobs being created are low-wage jobs and they're part-time jobs. And to me, it is totally absurd that we continue to provide, in a sense, public welfare for families like the Walton family that own Walmart, because they pay their workers such low wages that many of these workers have to turn to Medicaid or food stamps or publicly funded affordable housing. So raising the minimum wage is a step forward, but perhaps even more importantly, we have got to create millions of jobs to deal with the unemployment crisis that we face.
Right, and we can do that with infrastructure. And
there are more than enough ways that we can do that, have people do meaningful work, and put people back to work. We can pick up after.
We'll pick it up on the other side.
Yeah.
Senator Bernie Sanders with us. It's our Brunch with Bernie, a couple of days early here because Bernie's not going to be around on Friday. So, and the board is full here. It's lighting up. It's almost full. So your calls for Senator Sanders in our national town hall meeting, Brunch with Bernie, on Wednesday. Yes, it's live. We're live. It's Wednesday. It's 4:15 Eastern Time. We'll be back with your calls for Bernie right after this.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
And be sure to check out Bernie's website, sanders.senate.gov. Sign up for the Bernie Buzz. It's a great newsletter. And welcome back. Senator Sanders on the phone with us, and Daryl in Meadowbridge, West Virginia, watching Free Speech TV on the Dish Satellite Network. You are on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hello, Tom. It's a real pleasure to get to speak with you and Senator Sanders. I have a question about the Universal Service Telephone Fund that they recently converted into the Connect America Fund that's supposed to expand the Internet in rural areas. And my problem is my local telephone carrier is Frontier Communications, and when I discussed with them about possibly using some of those funds to give me some access to some kind of Internet here, because the only thing that I have is dial-up. I don't have any access to cell phone type signals. I'm too far out of the way and so forth. And anyway, their excuse was that because they had a remote, all I'm trying to do is get DSL. And because they had a remote in my area, even though I was 25,000 feet out of range of it, they couldn't use any of these funds to help me. So I wonder if you guys had any...
Okay, Darrell, obviously I'm not familiar with your situation in West Virginia. What I can say is that we lag behind a number of other countries in terms of broadband access and high-quality broadband. Our delegation, the Vermont delegation, worked very closely with the Department of Agriculture. We got a very significant grant, and we're quite a rural state. And I believe that within the next year or two, we're going to have reasonably fast broadband service in virtually every community in the state of Vermont. In some parts of the state, very, very fast broadband. This is a huge issue. It's a huge issue. Obviously, in the modern era, it's very hard to survive without good quality broadband service. And it's important also for economic development, because I think what we're going to see is in our smaller towns, not only Vermont, but all over America, you can decide businesses, if they have access to high-quality broadband, if they have access to good cell phone service, they're going to come to small towns and start hiring some people. So it's a very important issue. I think Vermont is making some progress on it, and clearly I think the federal government has got to play a major role working with the private sector to make it happen. Every community in America should have high-quality broadband. It's the telephone service and the electric service of the 21st century. We need to make it happen.
And apropos of that, Bernie, in the 50 seconds we have before the break, New York Times yesterday had a brilliant story. It's one of the most forwarded stories from yesterday in the New York Times about how Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Saw it. Yep.
You saw it. Public utility. They're just dealing with it like it's water, and it's a gigabyte, 1,000 megabyte service.
Right. We have that in part of Vermont as well. And the point about the article is Chattanooga is going to do very well economically because businesses are going to come there and take advantage of that fast internet access service. And we need that all over the country.
Right. Meanwhile, by the way, just as an FYI, Kansas has some ALEC model legislation before their legislature to make it a crime for a city or municipality to own a broadband service or offer broadband. So, the Koch brothers...
Why am I surprised?
Yeah, the Koch brothers funded ALEC is on the case. Senator Sanders with us, taking your calls in our National Town Hall meeting, Brunch with Bernie, right after this. 20 minutes past the hour. It's our Brunch with Bernie hour 2 days early here on the Thom Hartmann Program. Senator Sanders taking your calls. Michael in Imperial Beach, California. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hey, Mr. Hartmann. Hey, Senator Sanders. Senator Sanders, I believe it was Tom that told us Ireland is putting banksters on trial.
That was Iceland.
It was Iceland? Okay. But even Ronald Reagan prosecuted the SNL banksters.
Right.
Senator Sanders and Tom, if we don't indict anybody, has the statute of limitations run out for prosecution now that we're 6 to 7 years out? Have they got away with it?
Well, Michael, you've asked a good question and something that has troubled me from day one of the financial crisis. And here you have a situation where it is so crazy that you have J.P. Morgan Chase, which, if Tom, correct me if I'm wrong here, but my memory tells me that they paid something like $12 billion in fines.
Yeah, in that neighborhood for criminal activity.
Right, and the punishment that their CEO, Jamie Dimon, got was a $20 million salary this year, which was a substantial increase over what he got last year. So I guess that the
crime pays.
The board of directors of J.P. Morgan Chase felt that the $12 billion or so that they paid out was a good deal for them. That he got a good deal. I think there is outrage all over this country with the understanding that you have greed and recklessness and illegal behavior on Wall Street having caused the terrible recession we remain in today, where millions of people have lost their jobs, they lost their homes, they lost their life savings. These guys are now paying out huge fines, and yet none of them are going to jail. And I think that kind of tells people in this country that we have a two-tier system of justice, and that if you're a working class guy and you break a window or you're selling pot or something, that's one form of justice, to go to jail. But if you're a billionaire, hey, you're representing some of the largest banks in the world, I guess you don't go to jail, despite the fact that your crime has impacted the lives of many millions of people. So Michael asked the right question, and we're doing our best on this. But Michael may remember, and the situation is so pathetic, that a number of months ago the Department of Justice was saying, well, if we charged some of these guys, it might literally have a negative impact on the whole financial system. So the phrase developed that they're not only too big to fail, they're too big to jail. But Michael is absolutely right. We need to bring criminal charges against criminals.
Ed, in Concord, California. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hello. I'd like to talk to Bernie and you, Tom. I got a couple of questions. The thing you started about in Chattanooga, Tennessee, how did you go about it? I go to my city council meetings here in Concord, California, usually for stuff for the union to keep Walmart out of town, which we've done very successful here in Concord. But I'd like to know, where would you go about? I'm not a very elegant person. I was just a construction worker. I didn't do it. I'm not much, didn't remember what to college. So how would you go about getting something that started in your city? And my other thing is, I got this question about the fracking. Right away in my mind, it came to me that these materials they put in the ground that are so toxic, and nobody knows where they come from, or you can't find out, or whatever, and nobody knows what they are. I wonder if people or the companies are giving this stuff to them to put there instead of paying for it to be dumped, these hazards. Has anybody ever thought of that?
No, there's.
Am I just sick or something?
I don't think that is the case. But I think what people do perceive is, in terms of fracking, a lot of chemicals going deep into the ground, and they can in fact impact aquifers and pollute water. And there is a great concern about fracking in that regard, and I share that concern. And in terms of what your city can do, when I was mayor of the city of Burlington, we looked very hard at getting into the cable TV business because we looked around us and what we saw kind of were rip-offs, and we thought we could do better. We ended up not getting into it, but we got a hefty check from one of the companies when we decided not to do that. We were able to use that to help a lot of people. Burlington has also gone into broadband. And I'm not sure, but I suspect other communities have as well. So this is just a decision that your city council has to make. And what they have to weigh is how much does it cost, how many people would want to take advantage of that, what kind of prices can they charge, can they be better than the other companies? And I think in many cases they can. So it's certainly something worth cities studying.
So the way that he should do that is just show up at the city council meeting and raise the topic.
People are unhappy with what they're getting now. If the quality is not good, if the prices are too high, a study should be done to see what the city can do.
Right. Leela in Solana Beach, California, listening on iHeartRadio. Leela, you're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hi. Oh, great. I have a quick question. I may sound naive. I don't know, but we talk about money in politics and the Koch brothers and all these ginormous amounts of money corrupting our political system. Why are the politicians so corruptible? I don't understand. Do we elect cooks? I mean, why is it that money can influence them?
Well, I'll tell you why, Lila, and here's the situation. If you're in California, which is obviously the largest state in the country, where people have spent $50, $75, $80 million or more to run for statewide office, and how do you raise that money? Lila, if you want to run for governor or senator in California, how are you going to raise $80 million? And what ends up happening right now is because of our current disastrous campaign finance system, if somebody is very, very wealthy, and that's been the case in California, they can fund it themselves, and you're going to have to figure out how you raise an equivalent amount of money to deal with that. Or you're going to have to go to very, very wealthy people to raise the kind of funds you need to compete with somebody else. But what Citizens United has done is kind of taken the lid off of campaign funding. The sums are coming in, the costs are now astronomical, and people need to raise huge sums of money to compete. That's why we need public funding of elections.
Senator Bernie Sanders with us 2 days early for our Brunch with Bernie this week. Taking your calls at our national town hall meeting here on the Thom Hartmann Program. Be sure and check out Bernie's website, sanders.senate.gov.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 866-987-THOM.
And, of course, you can drop by thomhartmann.com, drop into our free live chat room and say hi. But we'll be back with more of your calls for Bernie right after this. Minutes before the hour. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you, and Senator Bernie Sanders on the line with us. Our Brunch with Bernie hour a couple of days early, as Bernie will be unavailable on Friday. And Senator, thank you for joining us here on Wednesday. You're there on the line?
I'm right here.
Okay, great. So we'll pick up some calls here. Dan in Harlingen, Montana. Hey, Dan, thanks for watching Free Speech TV. What's up?
Hey, Senator Sanders, I just wanted to thank you for the work that you're doing with the veterans.
Thank you.
And also, is it possible to get rid of some of those Supreme Court judges or add some that aren't so corrupt?
Well, we certainly hope that in years to come we're going to have a Supreme Court that is not a right-wing Supreme Court and a Supreme Court that doesn't consistently rule for the wealthy and large corporations. As you know, the president makes the nominations, and right now the way the courts are, it's kind of 5-4 conservative Republican, and we hope that President Obama will be able, in the remainder of his term, to make additional appointments and give us a Supreme Court that lives in the real world, that interprets the Constitution for the American people, and not just for the large corporations and the wealthy. I think that the decision regarding Citizens United will go down in history as one of the very, very worst decisions ever made. It just indicates a Supreme Court that is, beholden actually to very wealthy and powerful people.
It's like Dred Scott, it's the mirror image. Dred Scott made people into property. Citizens United made property into people.
That's exactly right. It'll go down with Dred Scott as one of the worst decisions in history of the Supreme Court. But it's not only that. This is a Supreme Court that, many of these judges were appointed by Republicans, and they have turned out to be, extremely right-wing.
Yep. Stephen in Deming, Washington. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hi, gentlemen. Thanks for having me. Wanted to get your response to something that's bothered me for a long time. There's a misspeak, a doublespeak that's just huge in regard to the word free, which, of course, we're a free country, and everybody just, you brighten right up at the word free. Well, we have a big push for free markets and for free trade. And the fact is that I think you'll agree that free trade is so blessedly, exorbitantly expensive it could actually put our economy up. And that free markets have been responsible for the economic implosion that we went through in 2008 and are still dealing with.
So your question, Stephen?
Calling that for what it is and say free trade is not free.
Well, you're absolutely right on that. This whole issue, and I think Stephen makes a very, very good point on what freedom is about. Our right-wing Republican colleagues believe that what freedom is about is allowing wealthy and powerful people to exploit working families and the middle class, that's somehow freedom. Let me give you an example of that. You have many Republicans, and people don't know this, who not only are opposed to raising the minimum wage from above $7.25 an hour, where it currently is, they believe that we should abolish the concept of the minimum wage. Because to them, picking up on Stephen's point, what freedom is about is not having the government regulating a minimum wage, but allowing people to work for $3 an hour or for $4 an hour, and allowing a free relationship to exist between an employer and a worker without the government getting involved. And what freedom is about in terms of the environment, if you are a company and you're dumping crap into the air and into the water, which will make people sick or kill people, that's freedom. And we don't want the government stopping you from having the freedom to do that kind of pollution. So I think, Stephen is right. We really need to have a strong discussion about what freedom is. And I happen to believe that if people are desperately trying to survive economically and desperately trying to figure out how they can put gas in their car to get to work or how they can feed their kids, that doesn't sound like freedom to me. It doesn't sound like freedom to me. So I think when we talk about freedom, it's not just the right to vote every 2 years or every 4 years. It also means economic security, so you can enjoy life. So you have the freedom to take a vacation. You have the freedom to move from one job to another. So it is, Steve's right. I think this is an issue that needs a lot of discussion.
Paul, listening on WCPT in Northbrook, Illinois. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hi. Senator Sanders?
Yep.
Yes, hi. It's an honor to speak with you. Thank you for doing this and taking these calls. I had a question on the legislator and legislating abortion. This has always been a problem of mine. Not everybody in this country is a Christian. So I respect the legislators that truly believe in abortion, but that's their religion and that's their belief. Why would they legislate that for others? In my view, as a Jew, if I was a senator, even though ham is very offensive to me, I would not try to outlaw it for the rest of the Americans because I respect the fact that there's other religions. So I respect that people don't like abortion. I don't like abortion, but why would they legislate their religion for me?
Well, that's a good question, and I share your perspective here. And interestingly enough, Tom, it gets back to the question that Stephen just asked about the word freedom. I find it hard to understand how my conservative colleagues who tell us how much they believe in human freedom and how much they believe in choice and how much they believe in small government and how much they believe in getting the government out of our lives suddenly believe that they have the right to tell every woman in America what she can do with her body. It doesn't sound like small government to me. It sounds like a very intrusive government. Doesn't sound like supporting freedom for women to make that choice. So I think there is an absolute contradiction between those people saying, hey, we believe in freedom, get the government out of your life. But, by the way, we have a perspective on abortion, and every woman in America has to share that view. So I think there is an absolute contradiction, and I think, by the way, most Americans see it that way as well.
Tim in Summerdale, Ohio. You are on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hi, how you doing today, guys?
Good.
I was listening to your conversation before about this broadband and how Tennessee did.
Mm-hmm.
Or so yesterday. What is rural people going to do, though? It seems like we're always the ones that miss out on everything. The high-speed internet comes across, a power company comes across, but because you're out there and there's not enough revenue around you, we get bypassed.
No, you're right. And the answer is, as you've just indicated, if you're in an urban area where you can get a whole lot of customers, it's a more profitable situation than doing broadband in a rural area where you may have a few customers every mile. I mean, that's the problem we face in the state of Vermont, which is one of the most rural states in the country. We ended up getting a significant federal grant. I would have structured the grant, frankly, differently than it was, in fact, structured. But we are in the process right now, and I think within a couple of years, where every rural community in Vermont will have access to high-quality wireless broadband, and a couple of our towns will have very high-quality fiber optic, and some of the fastest broadband in the country. But I think the point here is that the government has got to be involved in helping rural areas, because, as Kim indicates, it's just an expensive proposition for companies to do it in an area where there's not going to be a whole lot of revenue. But we cannot abandon rural America, and they need the same opportunity. Their kids need the same opportunity. Their businesses need the same opportunity as urban America in terms of high quality. And
so it's time for the broadband equivalent of the REA.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
That's what we're talking about.
Charles in Mandeville, Louisiana, watching us on YouTube. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Senator Sanders, I just want to thank you for your persistence of sanity in the job that you hold. And if I lived in your state, I'd be incredibly proud. My question for you is, do you realistically, in your heart of hearts, think that it will ever be possible for us to see campaign finance reform, big money from corporations from flowing into elections, and possibly term limits for the government?
1 minute to the break, Bernie.
The short answer is yes, I really do. But what we have got to do, Charles, is make campaign finance as an important an issue as jobs in the economy, as education, as health care, as climate change. Because all of those issues and everything else is dependent upon who gets elected, and who gets elected is absolutely dependent upon this disastrous campaign finance situation we have right now. So you're asking me, do I think we can pull this off? I do. But we're going to need to rally the American people to understand to understand the importance of campaign finance reform. I'm not sure that we are there yet, but we are making some progress, and I do believe that we can do this.
Senator Bernie Sanders taking your calls in our national town hall meeting here on Wednesday. Yes, we're live, and it's Wednesday. It's 4:45 here on the East Coast. Here, Brunch with Bernie, a couple of days early because Bernie won't be with us on Friday. We'll be right back with more of your calls for Senator Sanders right after this.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
And be sure to check out Bernie's website at sanders.senate.gov. It's a great news site. Plus, you can sign up for his newsletter, The Bernie Buzz. Welcome back. Barry in Slattington, Pennsylvania, watching on Free Speech TV on the Direct TV satellite. You are on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hi, Senator Sanders. You're one of my heroes, by the way.
Thank you very much.
I was just wondering, is there a way for you to get the real information out about the excess speculation on oil by Wall Street? I look at that as one of the main problems with the economy right now. Especially in the north in this winter because we're spending $1,000 to fill our heating oil tanks. But I found a lot of people don't know the truth about this, and I know you did some research on this.
Yeah, we did. Well, what we did, in fact, some of the folks on Wall Street were not terribly happy, but a couple of years ago we got access to some information which we made public. And I think the issue that Barry is talking about is trying to figure out why oil prices, or in fact prices at the gas pump, are as high as they are. And there are a number of reasons. I mean, for a start, clearly we have companies like ExxonMobil and other huge oil companies that, through their concentration of ownership and their power, are able to rip off the American people. And these guys often make huge profits, and in a given year, a company like ExxonMobil may pay nothing in federal income taxes. They are just enormously powerful in terms of the amount of money they make, the ability of their lobbyists to influence tax legislation and other legislation, et cetera, et cetera. That's clearly one of the reasons. But what Barry is talking about, and what is not widely known, is that speculation on the part of companies like Morgan Stanley and other Wall Street financial institutions also play a very significant role in driving up the price of oil. Year after year, we have seen recently that in terms of supply and demand, supply is high and demand goes down. And yet oil prices go up. The theory is that when you have more supply and less demand, prices should go down, but we see prices go up. And one of the reasons is that a lot of the oil futures market, the energy futures market, is controlled not by people who actually use oil or gas, like the airlines or trucking companies. It is controlled by Wall Street speculation. And there are varying estimates as to how much that speculation is costing us for a gallon of gas or a gallon of home heating oil, but it is very, very significant. We have been working on this issue. It is like every other issue, when you're taking on Wall Street or the oil companies, in this case Wall Street, it is a tough issue to accomplish what you want. But Barry makes a very important point, and it's an issue we've got to stay on.
Senator, wouldn't it be a fairly straightforward way to do it? We have about 30 seconds here. To simply say that when trading commodities, the traders have to actually be genuine counterparties. They have to actually be willing to take delivery or make delivery?
Right. That is one way to do it. The other way to do it is to say that no individual entity could own more than a certain percentage of the commodity. And we're looking at both of those. And I think we've had a little bit of success on this. We've exposed some of what goes on. But I believe that on a given day, a couple of years ago, I think it was over 70% of the oil in the energy futures market was controlled by Wall Street.
By bankers who are not going to take the oil in.
Right. No, they're not using it. They got to make money.
They're just hustling. Amazing. Senator Bernie Sanders with us. Check out his website, sanders.senate.gov. You can sign up for the Bernie Buzz. We'll be back with more of your questions for Senator Sanders right after this. Ten minutes before the hour. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. Austin in Mount Carmel, Tennessee, watching Free Speech TV on the direct satellite system. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Tom, thank you, and help me. I have to make this in the form of a question. I have a business arrangement with Free Speech Television. I give them $30 a month. They give me Brunch with Bernie. Now, I want to give $30 a month to Senator Sanders if he will run for president. Put that in the form of a question for me, Tom, because it has to be that way.
Okay. Bernie, I'll just toss it to Bernie.
Awesome. Thanks very, very much. What I have said over the last few months, because that question has come up pretty often, is I do not wake up in the morning with a desire to be president of the United States. I really don't. I'm extraordinarily proud to represent the state of Vermont, and given my political views, it's quite extraordinary that I am in the United States Senate. That doesn't happen every day. And I am the longest-serving independent in the history of the United States in Congress. But what I have said is that there are so many important issues, vitally important issues, life and death issues facing working families and the middle class that have got to be addressed. We cannot continue to allow the middle class to disappear. We cannot continue to have the highest rate of childhood poverty in the industrialized world. We cannot continue to have the most unequal distribution of wealth and income of any major country on earth. We cannot continue to have 13% real unemployment. These issues have got to be discussed. We need candidates who are going to be out there not representing corporate interests or Wall Street, but representing working families. And if there are not other candidates who are prepared to jump in to fight for the working class of this country, I would be prepared to do that. But again, it's not something that I am, staying up nights desiring to do, but it has to be done. Somebody has to do it. There are other people out there, but if other people do not come forward, I am prepared to do that.
That's great. Charlene in Nokomis, Illinois. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Yes, I was wondering why the Democratic leaders didn't join in and support the Occupy Wall Street protesters when they know that protesting is the only way we're going to break the stranglehold that the elite rich have on our nation.
Charlene, that's a good question, and the answer is that, unfortunately, you have too many Democrats who are tied to corporate interests, who are not prepared to forcefully deal with the issues that Occupy Wall Street raise. And the two main issues that they raised were income and wealth inequality. I'm happy to say that I think people are now beginning to raise that. The president is talking about it. Others are talking about it. Are they talking about it as forcefully as they should? Are they coming up with the kinds of legislation that we need? Well, we're making some modest progress, but not enough. And the other issue, of course, that Occupy Wall Street talked about was Wall Street. And that is, that is an issue that a lot of people are just basically afraid to talk about because of the power of Wall Street. And I would just point out to listeners that we obviously bailed out Wall Street when it collapsed because they were too big to fail. And the feeling was if they won that, I voted against that, but Congress voted to bail them out because the feeling is the whole economy would disintegrate if we didn't prop them up. Virtually every one of those top 6 banks that were bailed out is now significantly larger than it was before we bailed them out. And this is an issue of such magnitude. Tom, just think about if Teddy Roosevelt, the guy who was busy, back 100 years ago breaking up Standard Oil or the railroad trusts, if he were alive today, as a Republican for that matter, looking at a situation where 6 financial institutions have assets equivalent to 2/3 of the GDP of the United States of America, where they wrote half of the mortgages in this country and 2/3 of the credit cards in this country. Don't you think people would be talking about breaking up these huge financial
Teddy's rolling over in his grave. I mean, Richard Nixon initiated breaking up AT&T. Jimmy Carter finished it.
Well, it just speaks to the fact, getting back to money and politics. And everybody's got to know it. I'm not happy to tell you this, but it is the simple truth. They are enormously powerful. Earlier in the show, somebody said, how come none of these guys are going to jail? They are very powerful. How come we're not breaking them up? How come people are not talking about the insidious role that Wall Street plays in American society? I just read something. It's an incredible fact. Just read it the other day. That in 2012, the top 40 hedge fund managers in this country made over $16 billion. Okay? The top 40 hedge fund managers made over $16 billion. That is equivalent, Tom, to what 300,000 public school teachers make.
Wow.
Got that?
Wow.
40 guys on Wall Street making the equivalent of what 300,000 public school teachers in this country are making. Does that make sense to anybody?
No.
And that's where we are. But, these guys, especially with Citizens United, if you stand up to them, they're prepared to, they're prepared to destroy you, and they're prepared to spend enormous amounts of money against you.
Right.
So that's. I know people are not comfortable hearing that, and I'm not happy to have to say that, but that is the simple reality.
We have just 1 minute left, although we have callers from Oregon, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, Montana, and Illinois on the line. Your thoughts for all of them?
Well, we always get back to the same point. The only way you beat the Koch brothers and Wall Street and all of the big money interests who have so much power in Washington is through education and organization. And the American people have got to be talking to each other. We've got to be standing together. We've got to be well organized. And at the end of the day, and I often make this point, while Congress is very divided, the truth is that on many major issues, there is a lot more commonality of interest among the American people. And poll after poll tells us the American people do not want to cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. The American people want a major jobs program to provide millions of jobs for unemployed workers. The American people do want the wealthiest people in this country and the largest corporations to start paying their fair share of taxes. That's what the American people want. That is not what Congress is doing. Our job is to rally the American people and make that happen.
Senator, thanks so much for being with us this week.
My pleasure.
Always a pleasure and honor to host you here. Senator Bernie Sanders, be sure and check out his website, sanders.senate.gov. We'll be back.